I don't really like to explain the larger powers that be, and how the royal family monarchy are connected to it, because I can be very wrong in my terminology used. In a way I find it, unless because I haven't got it yet, I haven't really understood it completely yet. It can be really easy to slip up and use the wrong terminology. For example, the New World Order is not the New World Order. It's not new. It's there. It's been there. It's just coming to light. And the families that are in power, the Roman families that are in power, are not black nobility families. Well, it's not the black nobility. They're just these families that are in power, but I call them black nobility. So there's things that I get wrong a lot, and there's things I'm still learning, and it's not my research. I am talking and I am showing research of others. So it's not something that I am intrigued by, and I believe it and I agree with it at this point. But I leave it open for discourse, and I leave it open for correction, because it's so complicated. For example, like the America being a corporation, Australia being a corporation, that we don't have governments, we have corporations, all that stuff I just leave open. I've been suggesting many times to look at maritime law. Maybe that has something to do with the corporations. I know it more than likely has something to do with the birth certificates. I've been told about the birth certificates, our birth certificates being owned, and that it's a claim of insurance against us, and we pay, the tax we pay yearly is the premium we pay for our own insurance. I've been told that by an Aboriginal, a Native Australian, while I was just looking at his paintings, his Aboriginal paintings, in a town a couple of months ago. So he was talking to me about the native title in Australia and all these different things, and basically how legally and by law the Crown is taking away the rights of Aboriginals in the land. Now, of course, we're still colonised, But this stuff is like, I absorb it, I think about it, but all in all, who am I to really, steer this? I have drawn these conclusions with this research myself at this point, and thought this is the best possible answer to everything that we've come across. And that's where I'm at. So that's a little disclaimer. I just want to put that out there. But I've just come across a very interesting video. Now, there's a lot of social media. If you're on Twitter, like I suggest, there's so many good accounts that do research. There's Dippy Dappy Duck, there's Methai, there's Truth or Justice, there's W Fanal, there is Dennis, there is TJ, who else? I think I've got everyone. There's just a very select little few that do this research. Oh, and there's Mike as well, Mike King. He's great, and I really enjoy the fact that I can have conversations with him and we talk about things. Yesterday we talked about Vanguard and how someone keeps saying that it's the Rothschilds or JP Morgan and the Jews, and the thing is with that sort of argument is it never really draws a conclusion. It really doesn't have a strong point, because especially knowing that the Rothschilds are interrelated into almost every family, but they're not like the key part of the bloodline. They're not really strong in the bloodline. If there's like a hierarchy, but they are interrelated. So why would they take over their own family, kind of thing? And there's things that have been there long before the Rothschilds were ever around in the UK, for example, that just could not be taken over. I doubt that very much. But anyway, there's stuff like that just don't have the same conclusion. So that's a little bit of a tangent there. And there's a video here. I don't think it's by TJ themselves, but TJ has put up this video. It's by a Scotsman, and it just explains things a little bit better than I could. And it's a wonderful video, and it's this person's own research. It's not my own. But I thought I'd share it with you, and you can, draw your own conclusions, ask your own questions, make your own comments about this. It's definitely an open discourse that we're having today. So I'm just going to show you the video. Now the post for this was, so the post for this was, it was about, somebody posted, who owns Vanguard? And then TJ has responded with this video. Oh, there's an 8-minute version. I might just play the 8-minute version. It will also give credit to the person that has created this video. Let me see here. I'll find who created the video, and I will put it up in my title of this video. Look who's in the middle. Oh, and here. Oh.
Hi, my name is Alan Lamont. I've talked in other messages.
Okay, so it's Alan Lamont. So I give credit of this work to Alan Lamont.
About how really world politics today is governed by the Vatican, but also the Crown Empire. Now, the Crown, what is the Crown? Okay, I need to explain this. The modern world of the so-called Western civilization, began at the end of the 17th century with the blossoming of the British Empire. That empire actually began several hundred years earlier with the establishment of the City of London, which is now an 800-year corporation that controls finance from an entity called the Crown. And this entity is the creator and controller of the Bank of England, the US Federal Reserve. Also controls the World Bank, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the European Union, and various cartels and corporations across the earth.
So when a documentary stipulates that Catherine and Nut are agents of the Crown, that's what it's meant. If you look into the birth certificates or any marriage certificates, all that, in UK, it is copyrighted by the Crown. So this is the Crown.
The Crown identity is kept most secret, and the Crown Bank of England really took control and assumed control of the United States during the Roosevelt administration in 1901 to 1909, when its agents, who were really Crown agents, JP Morgan, they took over 25% of American business. The Crown has never really been the King or Queen of England. since the establishment of the corporate body, but the British monarchy does rule Parliament in Great Britain, and it is really a figurehead for the Crown. So it does have power through a Vatican knighthood called the Order of the Garter. But the Crown is not the King or Queen of England. They are just figureheads for the Crown. And they are really just an established monarchy of this corporate body. The Crown is the directorate of the corporation, and Great Britain is ruled by the Crown, which is the City of London, not the Queen. And the city is run by the Bank of England, which is a private corporation. There is a private state, a private corporation existing in Britain and within the centre of London. And this city is a sovereign state located in the heart of Greater London. It became a sovereign state in 1694
when he's talking about it being a sovereign state, you can liken it to the Vatican or to Washington, D.C. It is, by law, a sovereign state separate to the nation, to UK, if that makes sense, and protected as a sovereign state.
When King William III of Orange privatised and turned the Bank of England over to the Vatican banksters, and they are today the Knight Templar Vatican knights that rule the financial world.
So this is why William of Orange was important, and also John Churchill, and that is also all of the founders of the Bank of England are very high up on the food chain when it comes to how would you say, the setting up of this current world situation, and are very large figureheads. And that is also why Diana's bloodline is really important, and William's, because it links to the Roman bloodline, but it also links to almost several founders of the Bank of England. That's especially Churchill and the Marlborough dynasty. So the wealth and the power of the Churchill, Marlborough, or Soames dynasty is much, 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 much larger than the Rothschilds. It's like the Rothschilds' wealth is like a teardrop in the ocean that is the Marlborough dynasty. And of course, then bigger than that would be the Roman family's wealth. So, yeah, there's definitely an order of wealth and power here that isn't discussed. That's well hidden. And it's to do with the bloodlines, of course.
City, this corporation, this crown, is not subject to British law, but it has its own courts, own laws, its own flag, its own police force, exactly like the Vatican city-state and Washington, D.C., Columbia. It's also separate from the Metropolitan City Crown Corporation. The police drive red police cars, and the uniforms are different from the Metropolitan Police. Also, the Crown in London houses the privatised Bank of England, the Lloyds of London, the London Stock Exchange, and all British banks. The branch offices of 385 foreign banks, as well as 70 US banks, as well as Fleet Street newspapers and publishing monopolies. Also controls the world media and world intelligence.
Oh, look who's in the middle. Oh, I've actually never watched this, because I only watched the 3-minute version, I think, of this video, but I haven't watched all of it. So seeing this is, he's got Australian government, Australian Secret Intelligence Service. Well, there you go. Isn't that pretty? I think that is Australian police there.
It's really out of London, the crown city of London, which is also the headquarters of...
He's got the Victorian police there, the Australian police. That's, wow, I never really saw that. That's right on the right, just here. Isn't that, or is that British? Looks Australian to me. Anyway.
Was a British Freemasonry, overseen by the British monarchy, and also underneath her monopoly.
This is why it's difficult for me when I discuss who's in power, and this is why what I've learned has been really hard, and how do you say, when you think about the access that Todge has, this explains a lot of it, because the family is intertwined and almost interchangeable with the crown. They're always involved. They are figureheads or patrons, as much as they're patrons of the Pilgrim Society and all these societies that they're usually a part of that work for the crown. So it's difficult because well, it's not difficult, but it's difficult or complicated to explain that. Because people just trivialize this and then go, oh, well, it's just a monarchy, a ceremonial monarchy. Like, what are you talking about? This is what I'm talking about, but I can't, it's hard to explain this whole matrix. So it's just nice to be able to show you this video. But this is what I'm meaning with a lot of my work, that there's this relationship, this strong relationship. And the fact that he's bringing up the monarchy so many times, it just shows you how important and significant they are for the crown that governs the world. So, and that owns all of our nations. So it's as corporations, which should give you more of a sense of non-helplessness, if that makes sense. Because if you see your country as a corporation rather than being owned by outright or being owned naturally, then you can see that, yeah, it's just simply a corporation.
Monopolies also controls the world media and world intelligence. It's really out of London, the crown city of London, which is also the headquarters of British Freemasonry, overseen by the British monarchy, and also underneath her is the Duke of Kent. But it's really from London that World Freemasonry is governed, and this includes even the Grand Orient Masonic Order, and also the Washington DC Scottish Rite. In 1945, the Bank of England was nationalised by the Labour government, and is allegedly, no longer a private bank, but the bank actually, it governs over even the Federal Reserve, and that is ruled over by the Rothschilds. But they are really, just bankers for the Pope. They are just guardians of the Vatican treasury.
I think I want to point out that's why I discussed that all central banking policy, so what's brought us to this inflation issue across the Five Eyes especially, and what's driven our standard of living at the moment, and not being able to afford properties all of a sudden, when for all of our lives we've been able to. In Australia, I'm mostly talking about. In Australia, it was easy in the 90s to the late 2000s to own your own property. to the early 2000s, to own your own property. Now it is impossible. It is pretty much impossible to do that. That's all been done through the Bank of England and the central banking policy that was pushed through COVID. That was another reason for COVID. Then you've got Vanguard that is owned by the Crown, but is, founded by the British aristocracy, which makes sense now when you're thinking about City of London with the liveries, that they own Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, like everything that was COVID is owned by them. So when you're using the enemy of Big Pharma, your greater enemy is Vanguard, and then is the owners of Vanguard. It's not Big Pharma per se. That's not the be all end all. But they have these fronts, so you are misdirected. Like Israel, like Vanguard or BlackRock, like Big Pharma, like the Jesuits, the Freemasons. They are but and no one ever talks about where the Jesuits come from, do they? No one has these conclusions, and I think this is why it's important to bring all of this up, is because no one seems to have, other than, it's this person, or sorry, it's this group, or it's this company, or it's this thing. They don't really have any foundations. They don't have a foundational argument. They don't have any context or substance behind their argument. If you realize that, for example, the Freemasons are from the City of London, are based in the City of London, and the monarchy at the moment leads it, then you have more of an understanding of where it's all coming from. And all of this is coming from the same place and the same kind of people. So, yeah, that's that.
The City of London also has its own Lord Mayor, different from, the current mayor. Then it's really the mayor who has the power in the Crown Corporation. And also, they really represent the bloodlines, the royal banking families, the merchants of the earth. And when the Queen wishes to conduct business in the city, she is met by the Lord Mayor at Temple Bar. The Temple Bar really does rule over the United States of America. The Temple Bar and their associate franchises come from what's called the four inns of the temples of Kor, the inner temple and the middle temple. You can do this on the internet. All you have to do is go on Google and type in inner temple, middle temple. Our websites will come up, on which you will see a Pegasus white horse with the sunburst of the Jesuit seal of the Jesuit order around this Pegasus horse. It's really a white horse, and there's a prophecy in the Bible about this. In Revelation 6 verse 2, it talks about the Antichrist. It says, I saw and behold a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. Revelation 6 verse 2. The white horse is the symbol of the British Empire, Order of the Garter, Crown Corporation. This is revealed in Scripture, and it's very clear. It's also the same white horse which is the symbol for the...
I think this is why, if you relate back to the book that people keep suggesting of me, is it A Cup of Tea? A Cup of Tea in... I think is it by Tim Cohen? That book about the Antichrist and how it's related to the royal family, to the king. I think it's his son, but this is why it's pivotal. The actual symbolism of the monarchy is the Antichrist, is the white horse. So accounts talking about William being born in the blood moon and bringing the light bringer, or Lucifer, is, red flags, Huge red flags. This is not, I'm not talking about my work. I'm not talking about like, of course, the conclusions I've drawn from these posts, and then the halo imagery of William, and how and why he's so protected. That's just one I guess argument I have or thought I have. I could be very wrong. I could be definitely corrected by that. But you can see that either way, whatever it is, the white horse is the monarchy.
Or the CFR, Council on Foreign Relations. It's a Jesuit symbol, Pegasus, and it's also the Jesuit order. The Vatican Jesuit papacy govern the Honourable Society of the Inner Temple. Now, the Inner Temple is the real core group that govern London, the City of London, the corporation. And the City of London, also governs Parliament. And really, I've said previously that the Queen really is the figurehead for this corporation, but the Queen actually does have authority over the Prime Ministers through the, as I've said, Vatican Knighthood Order of the Garter.
I just want to pause that because I want you to know that the agreement that you think there is between the government and the monarchy, already from what I've proven as well, is not real and not true, and that this is how much power they have. And everyone will go on about the royal assent and that they just have to sign things away, but they don't really have any power. They just have weekly meetings with the Prime Minister. They don't really have any power. This is the power we're talking about. So, listen up.
And so that's what I'm revealing in this audio, is the real control, that's hidden. And the whole earth really is governed by the crown, and they are just, what's called crown colonies, really. They belong to the city. They belong to the crown empire. And it governs Africa, it still governs China, it governs India, regardless of, what we've seen over the last few decades. The colonies of the earth are really just crown colonies. The United States of America are states of the crown. And so this is the real truth about the New World Order. And I'm bringing it out again, I'll bring it out in different ways, but this is the real revelation of the structure. Okay, my name is Alan Lamont, and thanks for listening. And as always, again, all roads lead to Rome, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth.
Thank you, Alan. I don't even know where to find his work, but I'll try to find a link for you if you're interested. So I guess this is why Taj can just come in, work for Aspen, work for intelligence, get intelligence, tell everyone the intelligence insider information like J6 with ease, doesn't even see anything wrong with it, can commit crimes, can do illegal activity, and will never be judged for it. All of this is just a big show. And so while you're there, challenging his visa or thinking, trying to get questions about his visa or trying to get questions about where he lives in Montecito. I mean, he's the figurehead of the son of the figurehead that rules America. So he's way, way bigger than Trump is way bigger than any president of the United States of America, they would be hosting him. They would be hosting him and making sure he has every comfort available if he was living there. But they can facilitate this whole con with ease because it's because they must. And it would all be through, I'm sure, Washington DC. So, yeah, interesting stuff. I hope you enjoyed that video by that gentleman, by Alan. And yeah, have a wonderful day.